Okay. Who's Dwayne Tucker?
Dwayne is the school liaison.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Jen was on there for so long, I just forgot all about the new one. All right, it's 7 o'clock. All right, let's call this meeting to order on February 28th, 7 p.m. Library board. First, we'll do roll call.
Right, Chair Amy Wilson,
Present.
Vice Chair Marie Hoda,
Here.
Maggie Burns,
Present.
Bryn Dunning is not present, Scott Gilbert,
Present.
Sarah Harkness,
Here.
and Austin Stryker is not present. Andy Sakaris.
Present.
We have Council Member Chelsea Noonenkamp,
Present.
Inglewood School Liaison Dwayne Tucker, and Dina Phelps, our new member. Sorry, I had put you down as being excused, and then she was able to join us. So welcome to. And staff, we have Director Christina Underhill, and we have Children and Teen Librarian Kimberly Powers. Did I get everybody? All right, thank you.
All right, so we can do introductions. I don't know if we want to. I'll start. I'm Amy Wilson. I'm the chairperson. I've been on here about 4 years, I think, maybe 3. I don't remember anymore. And I work for the city and county of Denver normally, but I live in Inglewood, and I've lived in Inglewood for probably about 20 years. So who wants to go next? Should I call on people? Is that easier? I don't really know.
Sure. Yeah, that's
Okay.
probably easier.
Okay, so Scott.
Hi, I'm Scott Gilbert. I've been on the library board since 2016. Lived in Englewood forever. Not exactly forever, but for a good long time. And welcome.
Andy.
Andy Sakaris, also work for the city and county of Denver in the Denver Clerk and Recorder's Office. I'm a 3-year resident of Inglewood with my partner, Ryan, and I guess year and a half, I guess, on the library board. I don't even, it feels like yesterday and it feels like forever. So.
Marie.
Hi, I'm Marie Hota. I've lived in Inglewood for 9 years now, almost. I've been on the library board for 3, and I'm a stay-at-home mom. I have a 3-year-old and a 5.5-year-old.
Sarah.
I'm Sarah. I've lived in Inglewood for about 15 years. I'm a stay-at-home mom also, but my kids are older. I have a 15-year-old daughter at Inglewood High, and then I have a 9-year-old daughter at Charles Hay.
Kimberly.
So I am the children and teen librarian, and I have been in that position for 7 years now.
Debbie.
So I am the staff liaison to the library board and the executive assistant to Parks, Recreation, Library, and Golf.
Let's see, who's next? Dwayne.
Good evening, all. Dwayne Tucker. I'm the liaison from the Inglewood School Board. This is actually, I told some of you last month, my second stint as the liaison to the library board. I had many years ago, I was on the school board and then got off and got back on. But since 2003, and I work at the University of Colorado. So it's nice to see you all.
Let's see, Councilmember Noonenkamp.
Hi there. It's great to be with you guys this evening. I apologize that I couldn't join you last month for my first official meeting. We had a city council workshop on the same night, which disappointment for me, but I was able to watch the meeting. You guys did some great work that evening. And yeah, I'm excited to be the liaison to this board. and looking forward to all the good work that you guys are going to do over the next couple of years that I get to be here. So let me know if you need anything.
Well, welcome. Let's see, Bryn.
Hey, I'm Bryn. I'm a pediatric occupational therapist and new mom. So Piper is joining us for just a hot minute before my husband gets off his meeting to grab her. I've been in Inglewood for 3 years and have been on the board for 1 year.
Christina.
Hi, I'm Christina Underhill. I'm the director for Parks, Recreation, Library, and Golf, and I started with the city in January of 2020.
All right, Maggie.
Hi, I'm Maggie. I'm one of the new members of the board. I'm super excited to be part of this and to get to know more about what you all do. I'm a pastor at the Sacred Grace, which is a tiny little church that's actually going to start meeting at Hamden Hall soon. So very close to everything that's going on. Yeah, glad to be here.
Welcome. And Dina.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for the introductions. I'm the other new member, so my first meeting. I've been in Inglewood for about 2 years now with my husband, and I'm currently a chief of staff or a senior director at an aerospace company.
Well, welcome. It's nice to have some new people on our board.
Yeah.
Okay, first up, we have approval of the minutes. Normally what'll happen is they'll share them and we can just look over them real quick.
I move to approve the minutes from January.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, those minutes are approved. Thank you. Next, we have recognition of public comment, but I do not believe there's anyone from the public here. That brings us to reports, the library statistical report.
All right, I'll give you a second to look it over. I did want to mention a couple of things. First of all, for those of you who were here last month, we did not have a physical visitors number because we were still trying to get access to the people counter. We did get access, and so just so you know, in December it was 8,304. You'll see for January that's down a little bit, but that's partly due because we've been curbside the last couple of weeks, so that's going to naturally take it down a little bit. It is a little bit interesting because some of those people actually did come through the doors to pick up their books. So it's probably a little higher than I would have expected it to be just for that reason. So they were getting counted as they came through there. Any questions before I point out a couple of things? All right, I can't see everybody, but I'm seeing some shaking heads, so I'll just bring out a couple of things of interest. Something that you can't tell from this report because we compare year to year as opposed to month to month. When I did the statistics, I realized that we were about 3,000 people lower on our patrons registered. And that seemed a little perplexing. So we reached out to Marmot to see if they had done some kind of a purge. And what we found is that about, gosh, it was probably 2.5 years ago, we set up a file for Englewood schools to provide us data directly into our circulation system with no student names, but just student IDs, so that those students could use our databases, particularly the EBSCO databases. And those files were intended to be kind of a regular occurrence, and they fell off, particularly with the pandemic. And they restarted the files again, and somewhere in there we ended up with a whole bunch of duplicate information, and it wasn't working properly. So they did purge out the duplicates. So that's why we saw this like sudden decrease. And I don't believe it's because there was that big of a decrease in Englewood students. I think it was just some duplicate records that needed to be cleaned out. So just an interesting tidbit there. You'll also notice that our holds filled went up and our total circulation went down. Also, we believe an impact of going curbside for a period of time. Another thing that I want to point out is our volunteer hours increased, and that's because we currently have an intern who is working with us right now. So she's coming in a couple of times a week. Started in January. I think she'll go through about mid-March. And so she's been helping us with some children's program projects. She's done some shelving and some weeding and some moving around for us. And I think she's working on our game or our board games that we would eventually like to circulate. So she's been a big help, but it's been nice to have her around. And then just to talk a little bit about the curbside. We did go to curbside on the 20th. So looking at the 20th through the 31st, we had 278 curbside deliveries. That's an average of about 28. I think the other day we got as high as 45 people coming to pick up. Within that count, we did have people when they would come in and realize that we were closed, they were like, but I just need a book. And so we, as staff, I'm pretty sure every staff member at least once ran to grab somebody a book. I know I personally dug through the drop box because she couldn't remember what the authors were she had just read. So we pulled them out. I ran and got more of those books and let her choose the one she wanted. So a fair bit of that was going on as well. We answered 183 questions. That does not include the mask distribution calls. We probably had about that many, do you have masks calls, actually probably more than that because for a few days it was pretty constant. We had computers, 273. So that was average of about 27 computer users per day. There were really only a couple of times where we actually got up to a full 10 people at the computers at any given time. Seemed like most of the time it was right about 5 people. And then at least from the kids' perspective, I don't know for the adults, but for the kids, we have our Kids Next Read service that we promoted when we dropped to curbside. And we had 18 requests that we filled in January. And we've had another 10 just in these first few days of February. So just to kind of show that we were able to keep serving our community as best we could, even though we had to slow things down a little bit. So any questions on that?
No questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Yeah.
All right. New business 2022 library action plan.
All right, so I think I'm taking this one too. You may hear a lot from me tonight. So we do not have the 2022 action plan ready yet. So what we'd like to do is go through the 2021 and just kind of give you the finals kind of from December where we left things. And then as we do that, I'll try to point out where we're going to keep things probably very similar and where we might make some changes. And then our plan is to have the 2022 plan available for you in March to review. So does that work? Okay.
Sounds fine.
And I don't know, Debbie, I know I sent it to you late. I don't know if everybody got a copy. And if not, I can, no, that's fine. It's okay. I got it to you late. So I'll just kind of give you, I won't give you the whole description, but just kind of the one-liner description and then the update for December. So the first one is restore library services. And the update for December was essentially that mask enforcement and general security issues continue to create challenges for library staff. In addition, being short-staffed resulted in adjustments of hours and closures through the holiday, so we could ensure we were providing the best possible service in the safest possible way. And that's something that I think you guys were all aware of from last month. That is one item that we will probably drop from the 2022 because other than this little blip here that we're going through, services were all restored. So I think that once we open the doors again, we'll go back to full services. So number 2 is create a marketing team and implement a comprehensive marketing plan. And for December, kind of our final thoughts was it's been difficult to arrange regular meetings, but staff continue to use the structure that we created to communicate between supervisors and key marketing staff. I do think we're going to keep this one around for another year. There's just, we feel like a lot more that we can do with marketing. And part of that challenge will be figuring out how to keep that communication up when we've got some staff that don't see very much of each other. So number 3 is launch a new website and iterate upon digital services. So we did get the up on the city website, but we were not able to move forward with a microsite. And I think we're a little uncertain as to whether we'll be moving forward with that or not. We're interested in having the flexibility and creativity that would give us, but we're not sure where we stand with the communications group. So that one, I don't know if that'll stay on the action plan or not. It probably depends on the answer that we get from communications. So. All right, number 4, make other improvements to the library. The update there is the Resource Center mural is complete and we're moving forward with getting the resources set up on that wall. So. All right, adult services, launch new services for patrons experiencing homelessness and economic need. Our update there is our Resource Connect, which I don't know, Christina, if you've talked about this in the past, but essentially we've got resources coming in from Arapahoe County and a couple other places that people who are experiencing homelessness or just experiencing difficulties, once a week, they can come in and meet with those resources. So, and I think we've got, let's see, so we now have 7 organizations participating. On average, they're helping about 15 people connect with necessary resources each month. And we've also scheduled our quarterly class for Introduction to Nonviolent Communications for 2022. So it's kind of where that one stands. Number 2 is launch new services for homebound patrons. We did get that up and running. Library staff held 2 outreach events with innovative housing concepts and have a couple more planned for 2022. For this one, I think we're going to change it a little bit and have less focus on homebound patrons and more just on our senior patrons in general, just having some more resources, some more outreach, and some more opportunities for them. So that one will be changing a little bit. Number 3, launch AV recording studio. We have no update on that, and it looks like we've had no update since April. I don't even know where we stand on whether this is even an idea that we can move forward with. So I will probably talk about it more, but chances are this one will come off the action plan. Improve access to local history materials. So the design work for the Englewood History Nook is complete and the installation is scheduled for January, and I know they've been working on that. That one, I don't know. That one may stick around for a little bit. So make other improvements to adult services. Staff led 2 successful computer classes. We've we're constantly hiring, it feels like, but we do have a couple of people that we have hired that are interested in doing some of the programming. So we're hoping that that will, sorry, as Michelle said, we're excited for the future of adult services by creating a team who will specialize in programming and services geared toward the different groups falling under the heading of adults. And she refers to that as 20-somethings adults and older adults. So let's see. So then on children's services, launch a teen space. Woohoo! The teen artwork is has been received. The display is set up. We're super excited about it. The only thing that's left in that room is computers. And when we decided to create the room, I decided we needed a whiteboard wall on the biggest wall, not considering that that's where the data ports are. So we had to have some electrical work to run the data ports up through the ceiling and down to the other side. And that was just done a couple of weeks ago. So now it's just a matter of working with IT to get a couple of computers in there. So we are pretty much considering that one done. So you won't see that on the 2022. What we may replace it with is expanding our outreach. We've been able to restart outreach with the preschools kind of the end of the year, but we would like for 2022 to get back into the schools. There's already, we're looking at summer reading promotion. And then in the fall, I would really like to get back in and reintroduce all of our databases, Tumble books, some of that. And then there's a couple other schools in the area that we'd like to reach out to. So I think that's where 2022 will go for that. Improve services to homeschool families. As you all know, we started putting kits together for our homeschool families. We're working on getting some supplemental information in there and then figuring out how to make them so that we can check them out. So that's kind of where we're at right now. We are going to leave homeschooling on the 2022 action plan because we've got a few things we didn't get to last year that we're really excited to get to this year. And let's see, the last one, make other improvements to children and teen services. The update there is we did have a staff member who had left. She has been replaced and started working with us in January. So the children's team at least is fully staffed. So that's where we're at. Any questions?
Sounds pretty good. I look forward to seeing it next month.
All right.
Thank you for giving us an adult story time, Miss Kimberly.
Oh, wait, I'm not done.
It was a lot of reading though.
It's all good. It's all good.
The only thing that I would request, and I know we're sort of in transition with Mark's departure, is, you know, those are all really good goals, but I think we need to just add some measurable aspects to them. They're very like, we want to do better, and like, what is better? And so, you know, I would just sort of, you know, encourage the staff to consider what is the metrics for success, both so you can celebrate a win, and then also we can, you know, reevaluate as a board and as a staff, like, is this impactful and is this a good use of our energy and time? So when you're, you know, drafting it, I would really consider putting some real goals and, you know, increase by X or do X number more programs, just so when you come back and say, okay, was this worth the effort and time? We have some sort of metrics to go against. But, you know, I'm excited for actually being open for an entire year while I've been on the board. It will be great. But, you know, I would think definitely when we sit down and look at this, let's really look for the things that can be measured as much as we can to make sure we're putting efforts in the right spot.
Sure, absolutely.
And I think if the board thinks of anything, specific too, we could add that next month. And I hope that the new library manager, has the freedom to add those kinds of things throughout the year. So
Absolutely.
Debbie, would you go ahead and send that out to us? Just, I'm better at seeing than hearing. I need to read
Fair
through
enough.
it. Thank you.
all right. So the next item we have is teen and homeschool project updates.
Okay, because you're going to hear from me again, I'm at least going to mix it up a little bit, and I did a video. So hopefully this will all work.
Sounds exciting.
We'll be, I don't know, you're still hearing a lot of me, but that's okay. Let's give this a try. All right, can you all see it?
Yeah.
Okay. And it's about 10 minutes. Hopefully, okay. Maybe. There we go.
Hi, library board members. I just wanted to take a minute as we go into the new year to talk a little bit about the projects that we did with the teen and children's team this year, particularly the projects that you guys had some involvement in. So the first one we're going to start off with is our teen room. We love this room. We are so excited about it. We've had it open since May and the kids love it. So we're going to give you a quick tour, and then after the tour, we'll show you some footage of the kids as they are interacting in here and some of the fun things that we've done. So to start off with, we have our amazing beehive corkboard wall. The intention here is that kids can hang their art up here, but also we just added the pictures of our amazing summer reading volunteers. And the kids really had a good time coming in here and seeing all of their pictures up here. We're going to come over here to our amazing whiteboard wall. So you can see that it is a white wall, and at the moment it is blank, but it is a whiteboard wall so that the teens can draw on it as much as they want. And I think you'll see in the footage afterwards, or after I'm done here, that this is their favorite part of this room. They love to come in and draw on it. So it has been a huge hit with the kids. You can see here that we have some amazing bean bags, which are also a big hit with the kids. They love sitting in them. The adults have a little bit of trouble getting out of them, but that just makes the kids laugh. So we have fun with that as well. On this wall, you'll see it is white, but as we like to tell the teens, this is not a whiteboard wall. This is actually our projection wall. So we like to show movies on this. Also, we have a Switch, and it has been a lot of fun to play Mario Karts and Mario Party on the wall in giant versions. So again, another big hit with our kids. And then the last thing we want to show you in this room is you'll see we have a couple of tables here and chairs. The plan is to eventually put computers in there. We realized that all of our data ports were on the other side of the room, so we just had an electrician in who ran the data over to the other side of the room. Now we just need to work with IT to get the computers put in here. So that is our amazing teen room that we love so much. Thank you for your support and helping us to get this room. We're now going to show you a little bit of footage of the kids enjoying the room, and then we will move out to our display. you all enjoyed all those fun activities that we've been doing in the teen room. So now we have moved out to our young adult collection. We were able to move it over here so that it is close to the teen room, keeping all of their stuff together. And just to show you one of the other cool things we've been doing with our teens is we have a lot of great artists. And so we had them paint bookends. So now we have these bookends that we actually can put right here with their books, and it just makes it a little more their space. It is their books, it is their bookends, it is their space. And speaking of our amazing teen artists, we're going to go over here to the display, and this is something that the library board provided money for at the end of the year, so that we could take the art of 3 of our teen artists and blow it up a little and put it on foam board so that we could put it in our display case. We have a couple little more odds and ends we need to do to get it completely ready, but our teens are thrilled with it. And we've had other teens that have asked, when can we get my art in there? So we're probably going to rotate it out about every 6 months. And we've had a lot of people come in and acknowledge just how talented our teen artists are. So we're going to do a little segment now where you get to see a couple of pictures of a couple of the artists showing off their work. So. All right, so now we have moved into our story time room where I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing for our homeschool families. So as you might remember, the end of the year, we did ask for some funding to help us to put together some homeschool kits that families will be able to check out, take home for a couple of weeks, and just enjoy some of these resources. So I'm going to take just a minute to show you real quickly what these kits look like. They're not quite ready because we still need to put a little bit more information in there, but we've got all of the basic components. So first we have one that is music. So we have a ukulele, and in addition, we also have a ukulele lesson book that also has video access so that they can get on to their computers and get additional information. Next, we have a coding kit. So we have a book that is about coding, has different coding activities in it. And then we've got some different activities in here as well. This one is kind of like a Legos where they build it and then they code it to actually do different activities. Our third one is a microscope. So we've got the actual microscope here. We've also got some slides and we've got some books in here about different microscope activities that they can do. Next, we have photography. So we have a little digital camera, and then we have a couple of really great books that are guides to photography and editing photography. So some cool stuff there. Then, of course, we've got some engineering. So we've got some cool books on engineering activities, and then we have different engineering type resources. So we've got cover blocks that can be used to build different structures. And then we've also got some of the connects that will also allow them to build not so up and down, lets them build a little more circular. And then our last one is actually a telescope. So we've got a telescope here, and we've got a couple of fun books, things to see with the telescope, as well as a guide to constellations. So those are the kits that we were able to put together with the funds that you gave us. We're very excited to get those ready to go out to our homeschool families. Before we move to the collection out in children's, I just wanted to say that another thing we are very excited about is having all of our activities back in person in this storytime room. It was used as a production studio for 1.5 years. It took some blood, sweat, and tears to get it all prepared and usable again for our families. But while I move out to the stacks, we're going to show you some pictures of some of our kids having a good time in this room. you all enjoyed those really fun pictures of our cute kids having fun in our story time room. So we have moved out into the children's collection, and I want to talk a little bit more about homeschooling, because that was a big focus for last year, but a lot of things got in the way of accomplishing all of our goals. So it's going to be another one of our big goals this year. And one of the things we are doing is starting an advisory board, and our first meeting for that will be in mid-February. And one of the things we really want the advisory board to help us with is identifying the resources that are going to help not only our homeschool families, but just our families in general that might need some additional education resources. We get some money from a state grant every year, and we're hoping to use some of that money to purchase some of those resources. And then the plan that we have is to actually create an educational resource center or section of our collection. So our plan is to move all of the books that are here now in this section and provide all of this space to be space for science supplemental information, math supplemental information, reading supplemental information, anything that our homeschool families can benefit from, but also our families in the community. If you have a third grader struggling with math, we have a place to bring them to find books that might help them make that transition. So that is what I have for you. Hopefully this has been informational as far as what we've been doing in 2021 and gives you a little bit of a glimpse into what we're planning for 2022. Thank you.
That was amazing.
That was so great.
Good job. It's very informative too.
I so
Oh, sorry,
appreciate
hold
that,
on.
just because I haven't been able to be in the library. So I yeah, love being able to like see the updates and more details on all the things that the board has, you know, somewhat helped. But yeah, really appreciate that.
Thank you. And special thanks to my associate Corinne, who recorded all of that and then pieced it all together. And when it was a little long, kept repiecing it until we got something solid. But also thanks to all of you. You've been a great support, especially to the children's projects that we had. And we're very grateful. We couldn't have done everything that we did without your support as well. So.
Has anyone checked out the homeschool boxes yet?
So they're not quite ready yet.
Okay.
So we haven't even promoted them. One of the challenges is going to be figuring out how to check them out. Because some of you may know we have story time or story boxes that families can take home. And right now we do that through just like a binder. But we'd kind of like to have a little more visibility on these, and we want to try to check them out through our actual circulation system, but it's going to take a little bit of work to figure out how to do that, and we're just not quite there yet. But
I wonder if, I don't know if this would go over, so you can shoot me down completely, but I feel like looking at those and thinking about like the families that it would be passed to, I feel like it would be really cool to have a little notebook, like a guest book kind of situation.
Oh yeah.
As part of it, where like the kids who check it out can like say, this is what I did. I just feel like that would be really cool to flip through when you pick it up too.
I love that idea.
Cool.
Yeah, we will add that.
Okay.
Awesome.
All right. What else do we have about that? Is there any more questions for Kimberly, or Kimberly, do you have one more item?
I do have one more item. Are you tired of listening to me yet? So after showing all what we have done with the funds you've given us, I am here to ask for funds. We're starting to get ready for our summer reading program again, and I think I came and explained last year to those of you who were here last year that in the past, the schools had been able to provide us about $4,000 to help fund our summer reading program. And then we're only able to provide about $500. And so all of you provided, I think it was $2,500 to help us get prizes for our summer reading program. I have been in touch with the schools again, and again, they're only going to be able to give us about $500 this year. So I have come back again to see if you are willing to provide some of your budget. We can either have it go towards prizes like we did last year. The other option is that I am planning to bring performers in-house every week this summer. So it's 10 weeks of performers, which turns into about $3,000. So whether you want the money to go towards prizes or towards performers, either way, it would help us to be able to provide as much as we possibly can to families this summer.
How much do you want?
Well, that's a loaded question.
How much do we have? Hold on, remind me how much we have.
Fair enough.
Yeah, 3,000.
3,000. Okay.
Oh, we have you have 3,000 for the budget? Okay.
Yeah. I feel like we did 1,500 last year.
That sounds right to me
It
too.
might have been 1,500. I couldn't remember for sure. So, because I certainly don't want to deplete your budget at this point. So, you know, if we could do even the 1,500, that would get us a long way towards being able to do what we want to do.
I mean, we're always scrambling for things at the end of the year too, so it's not like we can't use more than that, in my opinion. Because summer reading is like the #1 thing that draws people. It's like the biggest program there is.
Yeah, I agree. Summer reading's pretty important.
I think it's nice to like have those little projects, and then we just like, I think it's important that we save whatever for staff appreciation, but I am all for spending in the
Yeah, 1,500 sounds good to me as a start, and then if there's more like needed next month, we can talk about it again. But I mean, to me, that is the children's and programming, and especially summer reading, to me is like the heart and soul of the library.
Yeah,
it really gets people in there, and right now it seems hugely important to get people back into the library.
Are you sure we shouldn't do 2,000, and then that still leaves us with 1,000? So we could, like, you know, that'd be like 500 for staff appreciation and 500 for another project somewhere.
You know, my only request is I would ask Dwayne to potentially go back to the school board. I know that the school district has gotten an influx of federal funds, and to maybe look under the couch cushions and see if they can bring it up to $1,000. You know, and
I've already got it on the list, Andy.
Great.
Yep.
Oh, that would be great.
I think I'd be more comfortable with 1,500, and like having, they can always ask for more, and we can see how things go.
Okay.
Yeah, because even like as we get closer to summer, like, you know, if we don't necessarily earmark the funds for too specific of a, you know, item, you know, as we get closer to summer, if you're realizing, oh, we need to beef up like the prizes, like then maybe like later on, you know, towards summer months or end of summer, we could always provide more funding at that time if needed.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll move to give 1,500 of our budget to best use for the children's summer reading program. Megan.
I'll second that. All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes.
Thank you.
Sure, have fun. Sounds fun. Looking forward to hear more about it. Okay, so now we have old business. Christina has library hours and staffing update.
I sure do. I'll give Kimberly a break. Thank you, Kimberly. So I have some great news and some okay news. The curbside services started on January 20th, and originally we proposed to end that on the 9th or on the 10th of this month. And we were going to talk about it at this meeting and let you know kind of the status of where we're at. Good news is we haven't had any other COVID cases. However, in the last 2 weeks, we've had 3 staff resign for various reasons. One got a full-time position. One actually mentioned in a resignation letter that she was resigning due to the challenges the staff face with many of the patrons that come in, which is understandable. And then the other one is the full-time librarian that just resigned as well, going elsewhere. So we're down a manager. We do have interviews for the manager position on this Friday. We'll have second round next week. So fingers crossed, depending on the candidate, if they're in state, we might have a new manager by March. We do have 2 out-of-state candidates that we're very interested in the position, and depending on their situation and moving here and all of that, it might be delayed slightly. So we'll see who the successful candidate is. I'm very excited to introduce the new manager to you all, and hopefully that happens in March. I know the staff are anticipating this as well. So we also have our full-time security guards starting, and that's in-house on the 14th. And we have multiple positions posted for our library associate position. I believe we have 2. We might have some more now with these resignations. Part-time security associate. So the full-time person obviously is only 40 hours a week, but we have more coverage than 40 hours a week. And so the part-time security associate would cover those other hours. And then we'll also have a librarian position posted here towards the end of the month. So we're in an odd spot with openings, filling those openings, hiring status, all of that. Through our curbside service, like Kimberly mentioned, the library staff has done an excellent job of providing the services ongoing. I saw multiple times, and I know it happened daily, where people came in and requested something, or I saw the librarian or associate run off to get whatever they were requesting. So they'd say, go home, get online and reserve it, then come back and pick it up. So customer service was really great. We continue to have challenges, our computer use, with individuals who did want to come into the library, and whether they were using it for business purposes or personal reasons, they did present quite a few challenges to our staff. I think one day we had 4 different incidents occur, which is quite a bit, especially with reduced service hours. Our little free pantry was very popular. The staff put together to-go bags together, and so people came in and picked those up and took them with them. So they still were getting the snacks and toiletries and items to take if they needed. The Resource Connect events continue to happen. We just moved those up to Hamden Hall. And so we were still providing a lot of those resources to our patrons that needed them. And then also, like Kimberly mentioned, the reference and readers advisory assistance still occurred. So there was a lot going on. Kimberly did a great job, and her staff did too, of our children's story times happening in the community room or virtual when we couldn't have a room. To keep everybody safe. So tomorrow, the library is not going to be open. We will still do curbside services regular times, but it's not opening until 11:30 as we're having staff training. What's great is we have the trespass ordinance, which Kate from the attorney's office presented to you in January, so you knew what was coming. And so she'll be there. She's going to go through that in depth with the staff, talk about the code of conduct that's going to be new for the city hall itself, including the library. Police staff will be there. We have all levels of police staff, from our dispatchers to our patrol officers, co-responders, and command staff will be there as well to talk through the various incidents that have been occurring in the library. And then I just want to bring this to your attention because I've heard about this book. And finally, we got copies of this book, and we have actually ordered many copies of this book for our staff. And I hope in time, once our staff get through it, you all will have a chance to read it as well. And so if you can see, it's a Black Belt Librarian. It's by Warren Graham. It's kind of hard to find it. You can't find it as an ebook. You have to go through ALA to get it. We ordered a ton of used copies at a discounted rate for our staff to read. And it goes into great detail. And this was written by a security guard, not a librarian, that worked in libraries. And I was just blown away reading this book. It's very short. It's not many pages, but the incidents he talks about in this book are part librarians and staff see them daily happening in our library. So I'm like, this isn't just us. this is a nationwide issue. And so, like I said, once we get those copies and get our staff through the books themselves, we want to get everybody on the same page on how to manage issues that are happening in our libraries. The biggest thing they talk about is being consistent with your patrons, treat everybody the same. You know, you have your code of conduct and make sure everybody follows the rules, all staff implement the rules, and all of that. And so we have a lot of great things happening. I feel finally we're kind of that freight train that's starting to roll down the tracks or getting some traction. The one question I have for you all to see if you're okay with this or opposed to it is originally we proposed opening on the 10th. With all the changes, with staff changes, people leaving, I'd like to reopen on the 14th instead, fully back to regular hours, fully open to our patrons. And I've already talked to communications. If you all approve this, we're going to do a campaign about love your library or love your librarian, since it's Valentine's Day, and have a really positive twist to this to get people back into the library and realize, you know, love these libraries. They may not be around forever if we use and abuse them. And so that's one proposal. And then the other proposal is staying closed on Sundays, at least until the next board meeting in March. I'd really like to get the library manager on board. Like I said, we will have one librarian leaving at the end of February that we're going to need to fill that position. And Sundays really present some challenges with our additional hours being added in. And so for the first question, is there any opposition to us staying at curbside services until Monday and then reopening fully on Valentine's Day?
Is Valentine's Day too soon?
That's a great question. And we've talked about it. I know the staff are anxious to get reopened again. I think we can manage with the new staff. We did hire 3 new staff.
Okay.
Our security guard starts on Monday, the 14th. And he's been actually in the library for quite a while working for Allied, our contract company. So it's not going to be like brand new, not knowing what's going on, not knowing our patrons. We think we can pull it off. Fingers crossed we don't have anybody get sick or leave in the meantime. So for right now, I know our staff want to be open to the public, and the 14th makes more sense than the 10th. That gets us, we can get our feet underneath ourselves with the trainings that are happening tomorrow, the posting of all of the new code of conducts, and the staff will have a few days to review, ask more questions of the trespass ordinance. That does not go into effect until the 19th of this month. And so we'll have a whole week, kind of our warning week is what we're thinking about, where we can start training patrons on behavior that's appropriate in the library and what's not appropriate in the library. So, and also give our officers a chance when they respond to calls to debrief with staff a little bit too of the trespass ordinance, the exclusions that the staff can put on a patron and all of that. And so, so any oppositions to the 14th, I appreciate the question. No.
Not
Okay.
at all. As long as everyone feels safe, I think that we just want everyone feeling safe.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate that. And then the second question is for the Sundays, are we good to stay closed until March and then reevaluate in March?
Yes.
Christina, do you expect that Sundays will resume sometime in spring?
This was a temporary move just due to staffing levels and the challenges we face on Sundays. We get a different clientele on the weekends coming in. And so for now, yes, we anticipate this will return to Sunday usage. We'd like to actually do a study. It's hard to do when you're closed, actually see how many patrons are walking through the door on Sundays. If we find it's minimal use or the hours aren't correct, and there might be people that would want to come in earlier and get books for their kids or check out movies for the evening or whatever it may be. We may see an adjustment of hours. I know the hours were moved prior to myself starting in 2020. So there's some surveys we'd like to do. That's something I'm going to task the new manager with, to really look at this. Also look and talk to other libraries in the area and see what services they're providing on Sundays or they're not. Like Denver, I don't think has any libraries, maybe just one open on Sundays. And most of it was due to staffing levels and also the challenges they faced. And so there's more to come on Sundays. But I'd like to reopen for a period of time so we can get a study done to actually see, is it worthwhile being open? Are people really using the library on Sundays? Or is it a service that's not necessarily needed with the hours that we already are offering? So that's kind of where we stand for Sundays. It's temporary closure for now. We'll reevaluate come March.
I think with you reopening on the 14th, is there like another time of the week when you could limit hours, like do only curbside, something like that to ease back in? Is that something that's an option that's needed?
One thing that we modified, and Andy, I'll get to you in a second after I answer this one.
Sorry.
We modified the hours. We normally are open till 7:30 Monday through Thursday, and we're closing at 5. And honestly, the challenges that we faced in the past aren't happening as often in the closure portion. We still have some, but closing at 5 o'clock may limit some use of the library for people getting off of work and trying to get books picked up and things like that. But that has helped us significantly. And we've recognized a lot of patrons have moved schedules around to come pick up books or visit the library during that time frame. So I wouldn't be opposed to keeping the library closing at 5 p.m. for the week of the 14th, and then the following week move back to 7:30.
I could see that. I mean, you talk about how the issues are worse after 5, but I mean, I hope long-term that, you know, you would keep evening hours, because people who do work would, you know, essentially be shut out of library usage. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. And that's a concern we have. And that's the concern we have had during the 5 o'clock closures. So I think that's definitely temporary. I don't know we'd ever go to Monday through Thursday closing at 5 as a permanent thing.
I hope not. Yeah. But, you know, I'm curious, when you said, like, you referred to 4 incidents the other day around computers. When you talk about incidents, you mean like angry outbursts, like abuse of staff? Like what are incidents?
Yes, Kimberly can probably elaborate a little bit more. I know she's been witness to quite a few, but really it's individuals with mental illness, possibly substance abuse. They don't want to leave because right now we have that 2-hour time block that you can come and use the computer. And at that 2-hour, we actually had one today that I had to deal with that he just didn't want to leave. And we had other people that wanted to come in and use the computers. And so, yeah, it becomes abuse to staff, verbal abuse more than physical in most cases, luckily.
Well, neither is great. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
do you know, I'm curious, the increasing behavior issues and you know, that wears staff down and is dangerous. Do you think that how much do you think that is linked to the fact that it's right by light rail?
I would believe that may be a big reason why we have it, because we are the first stop off the library is the first stop off the light rail when people get off. I know in our amphitheater area, there's people that hang out there all day. In fact, I'm like, that person's going in the library, and I'll run down to the library and here they come in the doors, you know, and they were acting weird out in the amphitheater. And so it's definitely a challenge being that close to the light rail, especially since ridership seems to have changed through COVID. We're not getting the business type ridership anymore. It's more just people riding it for leisure.
Is there any like long-term prospects of the library being in another location? Another location in the city, not in the building.
Sure.
But
It's a possibility, unknown at this time, but you know, with the Civic Center redevelopment, it could happen. Nothing definite. We've talked about it, and we've heard it mentioned from patrons. Staff have talked about, you know, if we were a little further away from the light rail, it could help the library and the type of people that come into the library. And so it's definitely a consideration, but then also a challenge too, to find the right property and building, and costs these days are up there. So the city's got a lot to deal with the redevelopment, and there's so many unknowns that it's hard to give anything definitive at this time.
okay.
Yeah.
It's just, I know people who tell me they don't go anymore because of the location.
Sure.
It's not even a few people. I hear it fairly often.
Sure. Yeah. Andy?
I have two quick questions or comments. One, I think adding the survey on the hours and sort of the accessibility is something we should add to the annual plan. I would add that as a bullet, just because I think it's going to take input from the schools, input from council, input from the taxpayers. I mean, it's a much bigger sort of move to shift the hours if it's outside of COVID sort of. And but the other thing is, and I don't know sort of staffing levels with the police, but if we're going to start enforcing the code of conduct in a sort of more meaningful way, I know we've had to do this at the city of Denver, increase security because people are just losing their minds these days. I'm not exactly sure why, but all civility has gone out the window. I would encourage the city to provide a police presence the first week of sort of the implementation of the code of conduct, or increase budget for, you know, the security officers. We have to shift, and we're seeing this at the city and county of Denver too. People are just tired of getting screamed at by quite frankly, residents and non-tax-paying residents and non-residents of the city. But I think if that is the driver of us losing staff, is the interaction with the patrons being so bad, we have to consider either security budget, police presence, something, because it's costing us a significant amount of money and community goodwill to be closed and understaffed. So those are just sort of 2 points I think we should make as a consideration sort of to watch over the course of the year.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I'll just respond real quick. So Parks and Recreation, Library, we're working with Public Works to develop an RFP for security of the Civic Center as a whole. We've always said we don't need an officer in the library, but we need somebody close by. So when an incident does occur, it's a quick response. Today, when we called PD, I think felt like 10 minutes, but it's probably about 3.5 minutes before somebody got there, and a lot changes in that time frame, especially when you have a patron. This happens often. We look like we're crying wolf in the library because that individual that has been causing a ruckus for the last 30 minutes, we'll say, and staff finally have had enough and they call 911. They may walk out the door and be gone by the time PD arrives. And so there's challenges with that. And so we are working in that bid process to get a good scope of work. So it's coverage for the whole Civic Center, because the third floor, the second floor, the first floor, we all deal with it. And so yes, definitely. I appreciate that, Andy. And I totally agree with you. It's a bigger picture of security in general, because it's just increasing. I think COVID has brought up bad things in people, unfortunately. It's just times have changed. Who else had their hand up? Sarah?
Yeah, I agree 100% with everything Andy said. There a few years ago, it was probably like 5 years ago, maybe more, but the city did not have a security contract. I think they had like this lapse where they didn't have a security contract, but instead they were hiring off-duty Inglewood police officers to do security. And it was night and day, like so much better. They would have their car parked up on the sidewalk next to the library. One day I was just out of the fountain with my kids and I talked to the officer, and he knew every single person who was loitering around outside the library. He's like, that guy has warrants, that guy, he knew everyone. And he's like, okay, I'm going to go talk to them now. And I mean, I just would hope that maybe city council might consider putting more funding towards maybe having uniformed officers at the city center in general, rather than just security guards. Because I've been hearing the entire time I've lived in Inglewood that people don't feel safe at the library. And I've always felt safe at the library, but not really anymore. And if the library doesn't feel safe, I don't even know if the library can survive beyond like just some children's programming that's really like how it is right now, basically. And so I'm just hoping that the city will consider that. I think it's really important.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. It was interesting. We had our security guard at the library today, and when we had the incident occur and PD was called, he wouldn't listen to myself, the individual, or our security guard. He kept calling him you believe you're a super cop. You're just an old grandpa, is what he said. he's not an old grandpa. He's been a security guard for many years. He's a good guy. But when PD arrived, the guy changed immediately. And PD said, can you please come outside with us? And he followed. And we had been trying for 5 minutes to get him out the door to the parking garage side because we had people coming into the library. It was kind of blocking the entrance. So I agree. The uniform definitely changes persona and how people act as a whole. So, okay, so we'll move forward with reopening on Monday, the 14th, fully till 5 p.m. We'll run that week of the 14th. And then the following week, we'll go to 7:30 for regular hours. So we'll get all that marketed and sent out to the community so people know when the library's going to be open. And then we'll stay closed until March, at least for Sundays, so we can get fully staffed to be able to cover those hours adequately. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And the next topic is quick. So Amy, you don't have to introduce it. The capital projects, I'll just keep going since we're already at 8. So the future capital projects, we're at budget season now. I went ahead, originally I thought we had more for safety, but ultimately we had 2 items on there. So we just pulled them out and Debbie helped create a memo that Amy has reviewed already. Debbie, do you have that memo available? Is it the one next to the statistical report? So the 2 items were possibly doing a study to see about closing the 2 current entrances off, making those like emergency exits, and having one solo entrance on the east side of the building to help with traffic flow. Right now, the security guard is on a spin pretty much, watching people come in on both sides. And so eliminating how many access points we have, it may help the Civic Center as a whole to not have people entering in the lobby, especially when the Civic Center is closed, like on the weekends, and only having one entrance into the library. The other item was emergency exits, adding more. And Kimberly and I have talked about this. I go, what are you going to do if like we have an active shooter and you have story time going on? What would you do? And she's thought about it. Her staff know what to do. But having an emergency exit near the children's area would be ideal. So if they can get out of the building quick, or we have a patron that's going crazy, they could go out that exit versus go through the whole library to leave to go home for the day after story time or something. And then the other area we don't have a current exit in, if we had something go wrong, is a parent room. And that's on the circle side of the library, on the east side towards the north. And right now we have seating that we need to eliminate because people just sit there and do nothing. I'm sure back in the day, people sat and read a book and it was great, but they camp out there all day. And so eliminating the seating there and actually making an emergency exit at that point. So the people that might be at that side of the library could easily get out of the library if there was a fire or some other incident occurring. And so these are the 2 capital projects. I haven't put prices to these yet. We'll send these to the city manager and the finance director to get their thoughts on this. But this will really help with hopefully security at the library. The Civic Center as a whole is doing some hardening projects. So hiding spaces throughout the 2nd floor and other areas are being reduced. And so the security as a whole at Civic Center is changing. I think these 2 projects are definitely warranted, make staff feel safer, hopefully make patrons that haven't been coming feel just a little bit safer when they do come to the library. So any questions on this? Any changes you want to see? Any additions? Are we good for this? This is the first time I think the board has presented capital projects to the city manager's office.
I just have a clarifying question. Can you remind us, so once this is submitted to council, what is the time frame on like hearing back if this is approved and ready to move forward?
This will be submitted after this meeting to Sean Lewis. I'll get his feedback on this. I'll actually talk to him on Thursday when I have a one-on-one with him and say, hey, this is coming your way. What are your thoughts? The challenge is always funding and getting the allocation for funding and prioritizing it. But the library has been a big priority of the city as a whole, definitely this last year. And so the hope would be we get some cost estimates for this and be able to pull these 2 projects off somewhat easily. So we'll keep you updated. I probably won't have any answers till about the June timeframe, but anything before that, I'll fill you in and let you know.
Great, thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Does the staff have anything else they need to talk about?
Just remember, the mask mandate's been lifted. So for staff, it's personal choice. You'll see many staff in the library still wearing masks. We are dealing with the public, but for patrons, we're no longer enforcing it. No.
All right, board members' choice. So for the new people, sometimes we all go around and say something personal or board related, doesn't matter. You can say something or you cannot say something.
I had something to share, which is that I listened to a podcast called The Stacks. I don't know if anyone else has heard of it, but it's a book podcast and the host interviews authors all the time. But this week she's hosting a banned books week, and she's speaking to librarians, teachers, authors, all kinds of people. And yesterday's episode was with a librarian. I don't know. I would just really recommend that everyone check it out with all the banned book uprising happening. Yeah, really good.
It's called The Stacks.
The Stacks.
Cool.
Yeesh.
It's definitely in the on the free speech side, not the banning side.
Yeah. It's funny. I guess here's my thing is, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when a lot of books were suppressed or banned, and it's certainly not encouraging to see that coming back. So I would like to listen to that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see if we could talk about going back to in-person and where people are at with that. I mean, cases are dropping pretty dramatically right now. Most people are either vaccinated or have had COVID. I'd had COVID a couple of weeks ago. So there's some more immunity going on. Just wanted to see where people are at. This is a really difficult format. I know I've mentioned before, it's really difficult for me to be doing Zoom, but we've been doing it for 2 years now. I'm in my bedroom. I mean,
Yeah,
it's just really awkward.
yeah. I would like to. I would like to go in person.
How about if everyone thinks about it over this next month, and next month we vote on it?
Okay, but we keep doing this, and I just really hope that we could talk about it, maybe see where people are at today, because we've done this so many times where things were going fine, and then we sort of missed a gap because COVID is here to stay. Cases are going to rise again. Cases are going to fall again.
Mm-hmm.
City council's in person, right?
Yeah.
They've been in person for a while.
Well, I wish Andy would have been on here for that.
Yeah. I think that we don't have a manager yet. I don't know. I feel like we should push it to March also. Like finalizing.
Well, let's put it on the March thing for old business or new business, whatever one, and actually vote on it and decide, hopefully for April's meeting, to go back. Does that sound okay, Sarah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so if you want to vote on that, make sure you come next month.
Yeah.
Or forever hold your peace.
Can I just ask like details around, because I've only done this virtually. So like, what does it look like? Where do we meet? Like, what does that look like if we did it in person?
It's a pretty big room. It never felt very full before. It was like a big circle. I mean, we can wear masks.
It'll
Leave
be a
the
different
door
room
open.
than we've been in, but yeah. At 7:00 still in the library.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. I do sort of miss it.
Uh-huh.
Does anyone know where Kimberly would we be? Do you know which meeting room we would be in? Well, you know what? Why you could let us know that next month. How does that sound?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would probably be Perrin or Anderson. And if there was a concern, I think like Perrin has like 8 tables. But we could roll some over from Anderson so that everybody had their own table and we had some space to spread out. I think we have some ability to bring you in and still give some space.
Perrin was where we had the last several in-person meetings, right?
It's like the
Yes.
far back corner.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because I commandeered Altenbach
Mhm.
and it's now a teen room. So yes,
Mhm.
you can do it in Perrin. Unless you really want to come and sit in the bean bags, because you know.
Somebody would have to help me up.
I'm telling you.
All right. Well, let's do that then. Vote on it next month. Is that okay with everyone?
Mhm.
Yeah, it'll be on the agenda for a discussion.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Maybe I don't know if like everybody reads the minutes like prior to you sending it out, Debbie, but maybe if there's a way to like just send it to like the board members that are not here tonight to just make sure like they're aware prior to that this is going to be a discussion and, you know, voted on.
Are we just missing Andy?
I
And
think
Austin.
in Austin.
Oh, and Austin.
I'll send out an email to everybody, just as a reminder.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay.
All right. Any other things? Anyone have anything else? No?
I'm looking forward to coming into story time for the first time, hopefully like this month. So yay.
All right. Well, if that's all, then we can adjourn the meeting. It's 8:16 p.m. and we will see you next month.
Okay. Good
Thanks,
seeing everybody.
everyone.
Take
Thank
care.
you. Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.